Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Within Range Coaching Podcast. I'm Ranger, certified holistic success coach, and in this podcast, I'm breaking down the journey that entrepreneurs face as they start their organization, find solutions to the roadblocks in their way, and create an impact that lasts. So if you're an entrepreneur, nonprofit leader, or purpose-driven community member that wants to learn how to grow your impact and develop yourself as the person behind the mission, then this podcast is for you. I know you're just as eager to get started as I am, so let's jump right in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Within Range Coaching Podcast. I've been wanting to do one of these for a while now, but I haven't really had the chance and haven't really lined up schedules with any friends in order to do it, but finally made it happen. And today we are going to be doing a little bit of a walk update. I think I'm about 36, 37 days in. Let me double check. Yeah, today is day 38, actually, of the walk. And I'm joined today by one of my very good friends from college, Mr. Steven Khansefid. Steven and I met while we were working at the avian facility in Davis. So, I don't know, we like birds, we like chickens, and just kind of got to know each other, ended up joining the same fraternity, and have been friends, brothers, and besties ever since. So I'm excited to chitter chat. Steven, thanks for hanging out with me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I'm so nervous and so many emotions, but I'm glad to be here.
Hell yeah, I love to hear it. But yeah, no, just going to kind of have Steven. It's kind of like a weird flip that I've interviewed, 10, 12 people for the podcast so far, and now I'm kind of being interviewed. So this is Steven's start of slowly hijacking my podcast. For
next week, in Steven Khansefid. I mean...
for Within Range Khansefid. Awesome. But yeah, no, it's so
see me across the United States.
You're just badly photoshopping yourself onto photos from different states. I love it. But yeah, no, so I know Steven has some questions from some friends, listeners, I don't know, random people on the internet, so I'll just kind of let him take it away.
All right. So first, I think we're all curious, where exactly in the world are you right now?
Where in the world is Ranger? It's like, where's Waldo? But I am currently in Tupelo, Mississippi. It is the birthplace of Elvis, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm here for a couple rest days. I walked into town yesterday. Yesterday was actually pretty rough. I got dropped off a little bit later than I would have liked to my starting point, which... whatever, my host family, they had to drop off their kids. It was fine. It is what it is, right? But since I started a little bit later, I didn't get into town until after sunset. So I was having to walk in town in the dark with barely any sidewalks. I didn't get check-in until like 8:15, 8:30-ish at night. So that was pretty rough. And today and tomorrow are 0 days. So at least I get a little bit of a rest before jumping back into it.
What does that mean, 0 days?
0 days means 0 miles walked.
Okay.
It's just my fancy way of saying a rest day, so I feel cooler than I actually am.
We're all about it. You said that this is the birthplace of Elvis. Is below, that's where you said you're at, right?
Yes.
Is it just like Elvis vomited all over the city or what?
Dude, I have no idea. So I'm actually kind of on the outskirts of town. I think I'm just inside Tupelo limits. I'm at some Marriott property. I think Town Place, Fairfield, a Fairfield in Tupelo. And it looks like we're kind of, let's see. I know that there is there are museums and this and that, but I'm trying to see if it can show me. Oh yeah, I'm like 6 miles away from his actual birthplace, from the actual town. It's like I'm just inside city limits, but pretty far from it. So, but I thought that the hotel would have more Elvis memorabilia, but I didn't see anything that said that. I'm sure in downtown area, if I make my way down there tomorrow, would have more of it. But over here, there's not a whole lot.
Yeah, hopefully you'll be able to experience some of the Presley phenomena that shook the world.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard thing too about a lot of the walk is that, I mean, there's a zoo in town, there's a battlefield, there are museums, there's a Sonic drive-in. So there's just like a lot of things that are all throughout the town that I'm passing through that I'm not actually able to even really do a lot in or experience, you know? It's kind of hard to get around because even that, what Elvis's birthplace, that would take me at least 2 hours to walk over there and then to walk back and yeah,
Even for recreational, you're choosing to walk.
it depends. The hard thing with like, Ubering, like that's always an option. It just gets very expensive very fast. But when I was in Colombia, I Ubered around a little bit. Like, I Ubered to and from, that's where my first main incident with my cart happened, where I had to get Ubered from just outside of town to the bike shop. Then I walked the wrong way. So then I had to get Ubered from wherever I was to my hotel room. And then from there to groceries, back to the thing, back to the news station. So I spent like almost 150, $200 in Ubers that weekend.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it just gets very pricey, and just runs through the budget, which my budget that I had when I started has been kind of thrown out the window for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, so long story short, if I can walk somewhere, I will, if it's, under an hour for the most part. But it's also just like the 0 days, it's also rest, actually getting some rest. Route planning takes up a lot of time. Writing posts takes a lot of time. So it's not like, 0 day, I don't have anything to worry about. There's almost more to think about on a rest day than a normal day.
Yeah. So you just said that if it's within an hour, you're okay to walk there. Has your perspective on, I guess, just walking in general changed? Because for me, if I was like, oh, it's just an hour away, we're going to walk, I would have been, bye, I'm going to take my Uber and I will see you guys there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I had this conversation with one of my other buddies, Bryant, one day, but all I've really solidified since starting the walk is that I really don't like walking places. Like, it's not something, I don't inherently enjoy the act of walking. I mean, even earlier, there's what is it? A Chipotle that's about 45 minutes away walking wise. And I just got it like delivered. Like it was like an extra $15 because, the delivery fee, the increase in price or whatever. But I got food for today and for tomorrow just because I got massive burrito bowls. But again, the hard thing there is that it just takes up time that I could have been using writing posts or getting ready for coaching calls or X, Y, and Z. So I guess to answer your question on that, it also kind of depends on what it's for. But to answer the question of has it changed my perspective of walking? If I had the option, if I had access to a car easily in wherever I am, I would 100% just be driving around everywhere. Even when I was with Julie a while ago, it was like, there was something like half a mile away. And I'm like, yeah, no, let's just drive. I'm like, I don't want to walk that far right now. Because it just takes forever.
So for someone who doesn't, or I guess doesn't enjoy walking, what is your get ready with me like in the morning when you're like, okay, it's time to get up. Let me go do this again.
Yeah, do this thing that I don't necessarily enjoy and pull myself out of bed and go do the work. So I mean, it depends on what kind of situation I'm in for sleeping. If I am, so I mean, like Friday, I'm going to be taking off from the hotel room and going to a campground. So it all does start the night before. So I'm going to make sure all of my equipment's packed properly, that everything is ready to go. I lay out clothes for myself. Typically, I kind of just wear what I sleep in for walking. I originally had some like normal clothes is what I was calling them, like I mean, pretty frankly, like normal socks, normal underwear, normal shorts, normal clothes, like shirts, but it just took up too much room and space. And I don't know, I thought wearing it would make me feel like I was normal, but I also realized I'm just not normal, so don't pretend.
Right.
So I kind of just put on the clothes I'm going to wear for walking the next day, the night before, after I shower, and I lay out my food for the morning. So usually oatmeal and peanut butter. Really just trying to reduce the amount of time I have to spend doing anything in the morning. I've tried doing things in the morning without prepping the night before, and I just forget things, or it takes too long, or it just doesn't work for whatever reason, right? So Friday, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to eat breakfast in the hotel lobby. If I didn't have the hotel food, I would just warm up some water with the little, I don't know, mini stove camping set that I have and take that and just kind of start scooting. I try to start as close to sunrise as possible. I think sunrise has been about 6:30ish to 7. So I try to be out the door no later than 7:15ish. And I think Friday is going to be a 30 something mile day. I think 31 or 32 miles, which sucks. But again,
What is your average mile per day?
my average mileage per day right now with rest days. Let me see if I can't get you an actual. My buddy Brett made me this super fancy spreadsheet that I've been using. So my average without 0 days right now is 24 miles a day.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Let me see. So
So you're walking 24, 25 miles a day, maybe more.
yeah.
How are your feet handling this?
So in the last 10 days, I've done 239 miles.
Jeez.
So that's about 24 on average. And the last 4 or 5 days were about 30 miles a day. So that ish hurted. My feet are doing better. The first couple weeks, I mean, we have the group chat with the boys that I was kind of like showing you guys what was happening. So there's two other guys that did the walk a couple years ago, Andrew Kivett and Mark Dudek. And I was kind of asking them questions because I was like, hey guys, like my feet are wrecked. And I mean, just to kind of be real, like for the, I don't know, it was kind of like blisters on blisters. Like on one toe, I had one on the top, bottom, and side of my toe, the heels, like just, it was like blister city. And it sucked. It hurt. My mother-in-law sent me some like blister band-aids, and I tried those out. Did not help at all. What happened was just by walking so much, the band-aids would get ripped off or move or shift. It was kind of just like you're screwed until your feet get used to it. And that's kind of what the guys were saying, Mark and Andrew. They called it, oh, your walker's feet. You'll get your walker's feet eventually. And they're like, the first 2 or 3 weeks are going to suck.
I'd say AKA hooves.
Yeah, when you get your hooves. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, that was like a weird period because it's like, do I pop them? Do I leave them alone? Like traditionally you leave them alone. But at that point, it just felt like there was a lot of pressure building on certain toes. Like it's just, yeah. But I ended up getting some moleskin, and it kind of goes on like the back, like the one that I have, it kind of goes on the back of the heel. And that helped a lot just with the rubbing and the friction. So using that, I have pretty thick socks. Like I think I want to say cotton. I get it confused in my head because it's between cotton or wool, and one of them you're really not supposed to use. And I know for sure I have the right one. I just have both in my head so much that like I just had the correct one in my head when I was buying them, and that's about it. And now it's just trying to make sure I don't overwork my legs and feet. The last couple of days, I started getting a little bit of pain in my shins, my left shin, which also doesn't help because I had some pain in it for a little bit, and then I bumped it on something. So then I was, okay, is this shin splints or is this just bruised now because I'm an idiot boy? And that was just because I walked in the woods for a second and I hit it on a stump, right? So Yeah, so the feet are feeling a lot better now, but now it's just like the actual muscles from overwork. I'm trying to avoid killing my legs.
When you are experiencing all 1,000 of your blisters, and you maybe slept wrong that night or whatever it is, you wake up in the morning and you're just not feeling 110%. What do you tell yourself, or what do you do to motivate yourself to take that next step?
Yeah, so it's something that I've been really, I guess, have been kind of building in myself because I did so kind of to back up a little bit. I think it was 2021 or 2022. I did something called 75 Hard, which is like that mental toughness program, 75 days. There's like, what is it, two workouts, a gallon of water, stick to a diet, progress photo, and something else I'm forgetting. And what that really taught me was what discipline really was, right? Because for the program, like there's no options. If you don't do it, you didn't win the day. Like there wasn't any like kind of screwing around. There wasn't, oh well, I drank, all but 1 ounce of my water, so like close enough. Like that's not how it works, right? And how that translates into the walk is I don't have an option. Like I have to get where I'm planning on going that night.
Right.
A lot of the way that my sleeping arrangements are they're very like I've been lucky enough to have pretty solid luck being like, okay, I'm starting here. This is where I'm going. I have somewhere to sleep tonight. Right? Like it's however many miles away. I can't stop halfway through the day and go, oh, I'll just post up here. Like that's just not that's just not an option. So I guess it's kind of giving myself that like no options mentality. Like it doesn't matter how I'm feeling right now. It doesn't matter to an extent. Like I know when my body's at the point that it's like I need to rest or I need to do something or something is wrong. But for soreness or pain or this or that, like it doesn't really matter right now. I got to get where I'm going.
So this is, I guess, the two-part question. Did you do the 75 hard in preparation for your walk? And what else did you do to prepare yourself before leaving?
Yeah, so that's kind of a weird question. Not on your part, but it's kind of hard for me to answer because I've been thinking of that. I didn't do a whole lot to prepare for the walk, but I did a lot of things that set it up just right for me to do the walk. I mean, in college, I hit my heaviest weight, which was about 300 pounds, and I was like, oh my God, I need to lose weight. This isn't what I wanted to do. This isn't what I wanted to be. And that's when I started doing my midnight runs. I don't know. I think I've told you about it before, where I would like sneak out of, when I'd sneak out of the AGR house at like 2 a.m. and go for a run.
And
Because
the
I
avian
was,
facility.
and the avian facility, yeah. But I would like sneak out because I don't know, I was embarrassed for random people to see me and like be out of breath and all gross and whatever. So I did that. I lost a good amount of weight there. After graduating, I think after graduating, I graduated right before COVID hit. So then I was hitting my own weird, like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I feeling so lost or demotivated? I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. Worked in wine for a little bit. That went kind of south. And around that time is when I first discovered 75 Hard, Andy Frisella, and First Form, which all those things are connected, but basically are 75 Hard. And it was just kind of like, oh, no one's coming to save you. You're your own most important ally. Like you have to put in the work to get the results that you want. And I don't know, that just really resonated with me at the time. I think I kind of needed that extra push, like get your shit together, kind of. So, and I mean, at that point, I'd already heard of the walk and knew that that was something that I wanted to do someday. Because I heard about the walk in 2018, but it wasn't something that I was committed to at the time, right? Like I didn't lose weight to do the walk. I didn't start running and doing half marathons or 5Ks and 10Ks to prep for the walk. I didn't do 75 hard to prep for the walk, but I knew that all of those things would at some point let me have the ability to do things that I wanted to do. If that makes sense.
Right.
Kind of like, I don't know what I want to do with this, but I know that not doing it isn't going to help me do those things in the future.
Mhm. So you heard about this walk about 6 years ago
Mm-hmm.
from Mike Posner.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't really know who Mike Posner is. So tell us a little bit about that. What about him inspired you? What about him doing the walk inspired you? What brought you to this journey?
Yeah. So Mike Posner, he is the guy that did the song called Cooler Than Me. He did I Took a Pill in Ibiza. And I've always been I always thought that I Took a Pill in Ibiza was kind of funny. Not like the funny haha, but like the funny, like interesting kind of a way, right? Like the entire song's about how, I don't know, like being famous isn't all it cracked up to be, and he's kind of like in the song you can tell he's a little bit depressed and this and that. And who is it? Sieb? Is it Sieb? Yeah, Sieb. Sieb remixed it into this like crazy party anthem. So it's like very different. And I remember one time I was in my room. I think maybe it was between freshman and sophomore year of college when I was back home with my parents. And my dad had found the original version, which is very slow and sad and acoustic. And he walked in, he's like, "Have you ever actually listened to this song?" I was like, "No, why?" He's like, This dude's sad as hell." I was like, "Oh, okay." And that's when I kind of realized, like, oh, wow, like that's interesting that, again, that dichotomy of he wrote this song that's a little bit sadder and like whatever, and now it's like a party anthem, right? So that got me kind of interested in it. Flash forward a few years, I was just following him on Instagram and I saw that he was doing a walk across America. He started, I think, 2018-ish. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. Like, that'd be something that's super neat and inspiring. I'd love to do something like that. And I remember having the thought of like, but he's a millionaire. He has all this time. He can do these things. It's probably just a publicity stunt. Like, you know, like here's all of my own beliefs and excuses for myself as to why I can't do something similar to that or exactly like that. And a few years go by and I don't really think much of it. And then in 2020, more of his content came up for me and I started listening to some podcasts where he was in, and I found out that the year before he did the walk, it was something that he's wanted to do for years and years, but he was like, oh, I'll do it next year. I have birthdays that are coming up soon. I have weddings or events, right? So he kept making excuses for himself as to why he couldn't do it. And the year before he did the walk, his father passed away of a form of cancer. And he was talking about how he was so, I don't know, shook by that idea of, man, I put my dream off for so long that now someone that's very important to me won't be able to see me finish it, right? So he did the walk, he got through it, and he got bit by a rattlesnake halfway through. So yeah, he got bit, and then he went back out and finished the walk later on. And I think just that level of commitment was something that I knew I was lacking. Or I guess I wasn't sure if I was lacking it or if I didn't know I had it in me. And I was like, man, that's crazy. That's whatever. And then not much longer later, I saw that a couple guys that had just graduated from college had done it. Andrew Kivett and Mark Dudek, the guys I mentioned earlier. And, you know, they're just normal dudes. Like, they graduated from college. They were like, I want to do this thing. They were also both inspired by Mike Posner to do the walk. And they did it. They finished it. Mark did a podcast. Andrew wrote a book about it. And I was like, oh, snap. There go all of my excuses. And there's a quote by Mike Posner from one of his songs that My reasons are excuses for me not being who I know I am. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I was doing. Like, I'm just coming up with these reasons that I can't do these things. And, as coach, beliefs and worldviews and excuses and whatever are something that we talk about all the time with clients, with ourselves, with our peers. And I figured that if I was going to, I don't know, take a stand for other people and their dreams and what they want to do, I should start with myself. And August of 2022, I texted Julie, my fiance, and I was like, I want to do the walk. Like, I'm committing to it. And she was like, all right, what's the first step? And ever since then, it's just been planning and prepping and getting into it. So the TLDR version, Mike Posner did it. I made up reasons why I couldn't do it, realized they were excuses, and decided to finally just jump in.
Well, that's awesome. So you said that you and Julie sat down and started planning this trip, not trip,
Yeah.
but this journey. And so what exactly did you plan? Like your route, what, take us through that process.
So planning for it sucked. Planning for something like this, I feel like I don't know, it's like the ultimate test, right? Like there really was no way to plan for it until you're in it. I know there's a gentleman named Kenny Mintz, and he did the walk and he's been helping out. And he had a van following him. He just slept in that every night. He was able to coordinate most of his stops and rest days and this and that before the walk. And I had no idea how to do any of that. So really for the walk, it was just me kind of being overwhelmed with it for the first year. Like it was more so the mindset of it. Like, is this something I really want to do? Why do I want to do it? Again, like a lot of it was like I was a lot of saving, investing, like putting stuff in retirement, making sure that I felt comfy there, getting licenses at work. A lot of it was like the money side of it, because I felt like for the money side of it, that was a tangible thing, right? Like I could see the savings go up. I could see the retirement account go up. I was getting experience working as a county ag inspector, so I was able to, see the months and years go by, basically. But the actual route planning and figuring out what gear I needed, that was the part that was the most difficult. I was trying to, for the route, I was like, okay, well, I'll just start where Mike Posner started and I'll just do the route that he did. And then I was like, no, like it doesn't make sense for me to copy what he did just for the sake of copying it, because then it's not really my journey, And then I did the same thing with Andrew and Mark, and I was like, I don't really want to do that route. Like that's like they did a very southern route, like more southern than I am. And then eventually I was just like, I just need to pick a starting point. I need to pick an ending point. So I picked Pismo Beach as my endpoint because I have friends down there by San Luis Obispo. It's pretty. I figured it would be nice. And then I picked Myrtle Beach, mostly because I just needed a starting point. But I think I had saw that another couple that walked across named the Golden Road, they ended their walk in Myrtle Beach. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'll just end there. Like, doesn't really matter, I guess. And then as far as packing gear went, that I just kind of noticed that most people that did it without a support vehicle had a backpack and a cart. So I just kind of started there and worked my way down. And as far as route planning goes now, it's really just a week by week, month by month kind of deal. Like just trying to find places to, pitch a tent or have an extra spare bedroom to crash in, or hotels. So it's just really chunking down and being overwhelmed, if that answers the question.
Yeah. What's been the most, I guess, what did you really underestimate you didn't expect or plan for?
How hard it would be to find places to sleep. Again, I've been very not like lucky and fortunate that the last 37 days I've had a general plan of what was going to happen and I had consent to be where I needed to be. And other walkers that have done it, they've recommended, a part of it is stealth camping. And
What does that mean?
that means basically putting your tent somewhere where you're not really supposed to be. Like you don't have.
Like
Say that again?
out of sight.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I think the official definition is like camping in a non-established campground. So I don't want trespassing, right? So like that's kind of what it
Allegedly.
is. Allegedly trespassing. And like it's I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like no harm, no foul. Like if you're there at dusk and you're gone by dawn and you don't make a mess and you don't burn the place down, who cares, right? But it just makes me nervous. Like I don't want to piss anyone off. I don't want to make any bad blood. Like this is not something you want to make enemies during.
Right.
And being in the South, I feel like if I were to start just asking people, like if I got desperate, like, hey, can I just put my tent like in the forest near your house? I feel like somebody would say yes, right?
Yeah.
But that's also just a lot of extra stress and worry that I don't want to put on myself. So that's why I've been so vocal on social media, asking for help, asking for locations. And like 90% of people that offer things don't work out because they're, 10 miles away from the route, or they're, I don't know, super far south or super far north, or people just say no. But at the end of the day, I just need one person to say yes for a day, That's kind of the mentality I go into that with. Hey guys, Ranger of Recordings Past jumping in real quick to talk to all of you coffee and tea lovers. Are you ready to brew up something amazing? If so, I've got just the thing for you. Cold-Blooded Caffeine Company. This isn't just any coffee, it's your ticket to a great boost of energy that helps save the rainforest. Trey and McKendrick, the founders, were able to find the perfect intersection between wildlife conservation and high-quality coffee. With each sip, you're supporting wildlife conservation efforts in coffee-producing countries, since 5% of every bag sold goes directly to protecting our planet's precious ecosystems. I've been hooked for a couple years now, ever since I picked up my first few bags at the Sacramento Reptile Show, which is exactly why when I had the opportunity to partner with them for my walk across the country, I jumped at it. My personal favorite has been the U.S. Ark Bourbon Barrel Aged Blend, followed closely by their classic Rainforest Blend. They also have multiple flavors of tea, so there's something for everyone. So drink up, make a difference, and savor every moment. Go ahead and check the link in the show notes for the referral link for some coffee, and don't forget to use the code RANGER at checkout to get 10% off. Cold-Blooded Caffeine Company, coffee with a cause. Hit the link in the show notes and grab some purpose-driven coffee today.
Have you experienced or witnessed that Southern hospitality that people always talk about yet?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I've had plenty of, like, when I'm asking about certain, like when I get help from someone, I'll be like, oh, like kind of what's the vibe? And it's such a funny mix of, we're in God's country, God-fearing, gun-toting, everybody has a gun on them. To keep that in mind. But also, like, if you need help, just ask. It's such a weird, interesting space. Like, it totally makes sense. And it's always just, I think, I don't know, the people that have told me, like, oh, everybody's caring, like, just keep that in mind. It's not a threat. I think it's just something to kind of keep at the back of your head, right? Because somebody told me that, and I asked them, like, so when you say everybody's carrying, like, is that a threat? Why do you say that? And they're like, oh, no, like, it's just be respectful. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to be respectful. Like, okay. But I think
but also that's good to know, because in California, you can see that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very different vibes of being from California to here.
Yeah.
Like again, it's good to know. Like it's not it's like a friendly reminder and a warning kind of wrapped up in one, right? But there hasn't been a single time that I felt threatened or worried or scared, like legitimately. Like, I mean, when I've had to tent out at night, any little noise scares me. So it's like anything is
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is the end. I don't know, the weird monsters, the Wendigoon found me, the Skinwalkers, the random, I don't know, whatever found me, I'm done for. And then I just go to bed and I wake up and it's fine, right? But in terms of the Southern hospitality, yes. Especially when I've been on the news recently, I've noticed. So, I mean, I've had plenty of people pull over on the side of the highway. Like just the other day, Sunday, I think like 5 or 6 people pulled over. Somebody gave me cornbread from their family lunch that they went to. Some have offered like money or water or snacks or cookies. But just yesterday, it was like perfect timing. I was like, thanks, universe. I was on the phone with my dad, and I was kind of again, I got to the hotel really late, so I was kind of spiraling that like I'm running low on water. I'm not that close to the hotel yet. It's getting dark. I don't want to get hit by a car. I'm out of water, or the water that I have left is warm. It just doesn't feel hydrating, right? And then right when I was saying that, a car put on their hazards, pulled up next to me, and a woman was like, "Do you want a water?" I was like, "Yes, please." And she's like, "I just left the gym and I had an extra one. Like, here you go." And it was like ice cold. It was perfect. And I was like, "Oh, thank goodness."
You
Um,
willed it to fruition.
willed it into existence. Yeah. And yeah, so I guess like that's one of those things that it's like, it like there's and that's one of the things I tell myself every day is like there's good people out there. Like there's people that want to help. If they don't do it on their own, at worst case, I just might have to ask, you know?
Mm.
So
The-
definitely experience it every day. It's nice.
yeah. So you mentioned two things. One, the good people and all their weapons.
Good people and
What
all their
about
weapons.
what about the bad people? If you happen to encounter somebody sketchy, and how are you going to protect yourself? What do you have? What are you going to do?
Yeah, so the way that I answer that is if people want to mess around, they're gonna find out. I don't want to like give up. There's an angry way I can say that. I do have self-protection. I have self-defense items. I don't want to go into too much detail about what it is. After the walk, I'll tell everybody everything I was carrying for the most part.
Right.
But again,
Can't give away
that's
all your.
just give away all the secrets, right? I don't want to let them know what I have up my sleeve or
Here's
waistband,
how you
right?
can take me down in 10 easy steps.
Here's how to finish off Ranger. Here's where everything is located. But no, I think that's the interesting thing, right? Is a lot of it is just being very aware. Like keeping your head
Yeah.
on a swivel. One of my rules for myself is don't be dumb. Trust but verify. Don't try not to walk in places at night. Don't show your most valuable items on the cart when you're walking through somewhere where there's people. Don't be dumb, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is also thinking about situations before they happen. And one of
Mhm.
those, like as an example, I noticed that it was going to rain one day, and I was like, okay, if it starts raining, what am I going to do? And I had this whole plan in my head. I was like, I'm going to find a certain like tree placement where there's like smaller trees with, limbs, and I'm going to tie my tarp right here and here, and I'm going to sit down right here, and I'm going to wait it out, right? So as soon as the rain hit, I did exactly that, and there was a perfect dry spot where I was sitting. And the reason why I say
Mm.
that is I've thought about tons of situations. What would I do if X, Y, and Z happened? If they have this, if I have that, where can I put things on my cart for self defense that make it easier to grab things? Honestly, the thing I'm more worried about than people are the animals.
Mm.
So it's like dogs mostly. There's a ton of dogs. So it's like, okay, where can I put stuff on the cart that, like, if a dog runs up on me, I can put distance between us because I don't want to hurt anything. But again, it's like, it's self-defense. So how can I make it easiest for me to make sure I don't get hurt, really?
So you walk in and walk in and walk in, and then you get to your destination at the end of the day, and somebody's waiting for you sometimes, right? What is, how do you set it up? What is that service? Who are these people? Where do they come from?
So, I mean, well, I think a third of the places that I've stayed at are like, hotels. So that's kind of funny because I walk into these Marriott properties and I'm like, hello, ma'am and or sir, how are you doing today? And I look all raggedy and
They're like, someone grab the broom, the riffraff is back.
the riffraff's back. And I walk in and I have my cart and there's times where I walk in with the tarp over it. So I just look, I don't want to be too like, I don't know, non-PC, but I look homeless. Like I look like I could be trouble, And then I walk up and I pull my Julie works for Marriott. So since we have we get like kind of like a discount. So I pull out my discount form, my little Costco credit card and my ID. And I'm like, good morning, ma'am. How are you doing today? I'm Andrew. Like, I'd like to check in. And they're like, do you have a reservation? I'm like, yes, ma'am. I'm Silver Elite. I have status. Let's go ahead. Let's get it rolling. So it's like kind of fun to get kind of thrown off. And then they see the cart and they read the sign. And they're like, oh, wait a second. Like, you're doing a thing. What are you doing? Or like the other people. So it's funny. I've gotten a lot of help from veteran groups and pageant folks. So again, I'm going to keep saying this for the rest of my life. I am not a veteran. I didn't serve in the Army or the Armed Forces. My name is just Ranger. So Kenny is a veteran. He was an actual Ranger in the Army. And he's been such a great help getting me, connected with people in different areas. American Legion posts. I stayed at one night. A little bit further up the road, a veteran of foreign wars group sponsored a hotel room for me. A little bit further than that, a veteran of foreign wars member let me stay at his house for a few nights as I was passing through Atlanta. Further up the road, a couple of American Legion guys either let me stay in their house for a few days and they shuttled me back and forth during the weather and, from where I start and end points. And one of them sponsored a hotel room for a couple nights. So they've been super helpful and super, I don't know, hospitable, hospitality, Southern niceness. Yeah. I don't know. And then just recently I stayed with a pageant family for a few days. So my mom and aunt and their kids all do pageants, like little beauty pageants, right? And I guess pageants are pretty big in the South. So my aunt knew the lady that I stayed with the other day through pageants. So she drove me around. She let me stay at her house. I don't know, hung out with her kids. I don't know, I think the youngest was 4. And she was just she had told the daughter, the girl that does the pageants, that I was coming over, and she's like, I don't know, who is that? She's like, oh, he's our friend. And she just latched onto it. Like, as soon as I got there, she was like, hi, our friend. And I'm like, hi. She's like, this is my Elsa microphone. I'm like, wow, very cool. It was super sweet. And I guess she kept asking her, I'm like, is our friend going to come soon? Is our friend home? Is our friend going to be there? Like when she picked her up from school and stuff. So it was just kind of cute. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say is with that is people bring me into their homes and let me hang out. And they just kind of treat me like they've known me for a while. Like they make me food, they make me dinner, they give me snacks. I'm just kind of they're like, yeah, make yourself, when they say make yourself feel at home, it's like, it feels like it for a few days,
Yeah. Are you still using that couch surfing, whatever service?
Those are absolutely useless. I tried warm showers and couch surfing. And I think the hard thing is, I'm not going to give up on them entirely. I'm going to look at them again more here pretty soon. What I've noticed on those is it looked like a lot of people hadn't been on for a while. like they made the account and they kind of went like inactive. And what I've kind of heard from a few people is like, oh yeah, you want to reach out to people a few weeks before you need to be there. And I'm like, a few weeks? I don't know where I'm going to be next week. Like, I don't know. So I've been focusing a lot more on like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So I know that you've mentioned a few times that you were needing somebody to be picked up. Those were friends, or how did you or get arranged with them through internet?
Oh, to like get shuttled to places and moved around?
Yeah.
Those are just the like I don't know, just friends of friends or family friends or whatever. Like the veteran guys, the American Legion guys. Those were friends of Kenny. So Kenny was kind of just
Okay.
like, hey, make sure this guy survives your area. Thanks. And then they would pick me up. One guy lived like 20 miles north of where I was going. So what he would do is he drove and picked me up at night, took me back to his house. And I stayed in his shed for a few nights. It was kind of funny. Really nice shed. He's a great builder. And shuttled me back where I started. I walked another 20, 25 miles, and that was still about 20-ish miles away from where he was. So it was like a perfect triangle, basically, of the route I was on. And yeah, shuttling is probably the most helpful thing that people can do for helping me out. Because on those days, he would take the gear, my backpack, and all the heavy stuff from the cart. So all I was pushing was tarps, emergency supplies, food, and water. And that makes it way easier to move around than everything else that I'm carrying.
Mhm. What's it like to be on TV, on the news?
It's funny. It's interesting. It's cool. Like it just feels it's always felt very natural, even from the very beginning. I think the news people do a very good job of not making it feel like you're on the news. Even in Myrtle Beach, like the gals just kind of set up a camera and they're like, just look at me. Don't worry about the camera. Like it's just a conversation. And that's what it was. They would just ask questions and they're like, cool, we'll piece it together. We'll make you look good. Just be yourself. When I was on live news in Colombia, was it Colombia? I think it was Colombia. That was the one that was like kind of spooky because I was like, oh, I am in a newsroom surrounded by cameras and lights and this and that. But again, I think they do a very good job of making it feel very natural and like it's not more than what it is. And I mean, even when it was live, I'm like, I'm just telling my story. I know this better than anybody else. So just say what's going on.
You're basically a celebrity at this point.
I am. I've been on the news a lot.
You're a TV personality, influencer. So how long I forgot where you said you're at. You're in
Tupelo?
Oh, that's right. And so how many more days will you be there in this state? Where are you headed to next?
Yeah.
And I guess how much longer do you expect this journey to be?
Yeah. So right now my estimated end date is August 24th. It goes up the more rest days I have, obviously. Well, actually, let me look at the numbers right now.
Oh, good. That's a Saturday, so I can be there.
Whatever day it is, you're calling out and you're going to be there. So with the rest days that I have put in right now, it bumped it up to the 28th. But once I get to the hot states like Arizona, New Mexico, whatever, my plan is to try to have people like you, Julie, my mom, Julie's mom, etc., kind of post up along the route so that I can do 30 plus mile days as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that once I get into those hotter states, I'll be doing more miles because it's kind of like a get started a little bit before dawn and go a little bit past dusk and just crank it, which is going to suck. But it's also like, would I rather do more miles during those hot days or be there for more hot days?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a weird, would you rather, you know? But anyway, that wasn't the question you asked. The question you asked was, how long am I in Tupelo for? So I'm going to be in Tupelo until Friday. So I'm finishing up today as a rest day. Tomorrow I have another rest day. Friday, I'm going to be walking towards Oxford and I have a camping spot lined up. I'm still trying to find someone that would be willing to shuttle me from wherever I end to Oxford and back. But since it's a weekend, it kind of makes things a little bit difficult. And, I don't really have actual contacts in Oxford just yet. And then I'm going to get to Oxford on Saturday, sleep somewhere, and then I have a hotel room for a few nights in Oxford. And then after that, I'm making my way towards Arkansas. And I should be in Arkansas, I think, by like next week. So I think the 25th. So I'm only going to be in Mississippi for about a week. And then I'm trying to crank through Arkansas as fast as I can also. There's just, again, not a whole lot of stops and cities throughout the route that I'm taking, which makes me a little bit nervous, but I think it's fine. I think I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I just gotta make sure water is always like the most stressful thing, obviously. And then I'll be in Oklahoma, and I have some family there, so they're going to be able to help out. And it's funny, like I get to Oklahoma and I was like, cool, that's like the halfway point. And then from the city that they live, or the town they live in Oklahoma, is not even halfway miles wise. So I was like, oh my God. I had that realization on my 31st day. I was like, man, I'm already 31 days in. This is fantastic. And then I walked for a little bit and I just stopped and I was like, this is 1 month. I've done a month of this. I still have like 4 more months of this to go. Like, oh my God. If I thought it was hard.
Now you know you can do it. You've survived 1 month.
Yeah.
You can survive the.
Yeah, that was the shift I had to make pretty quick, because it was just like, it's great. Like I'm enjoying the walk. It's great. It's fun, but it's so stressful. It's like a constant fight or flight. Like I'm always exhausted. Again, I'm enjoying it. I don't have any regrets. I'm glad I can do it. But again, it's still like I'm spending more than I would have liked. I'm away from friends and family. Like those things are still a factor. But I think at the end of the day, it's like those are very worthwhile things to do this. You know what I mean? Yeah.
How many tubes of rash cream have you gone through?
So I don't have any rash cream. What I've been
Is that one of your issues that's happening right now?
It was. So it was kind of funny. I wore tights one day for like a higher mileage, and it was my first time wearing them because I was like, oh, okay, like tight, like it'll protect me from the sun, it'll prevent chafing. It did not prevent chafing. That hurt so bad. It was like right in between my thighs, like upper thighs. Like it felt raw and it burned. It hurt so freaking bad. And I texted one of the guys about it. I think I texted Andrew, and I was like, hey man, where did I go wrong? And he's like, oh, what were you wearing? And I'm like, tights? He's like, rookie mistake. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He's like, oh, like you want to give your legs a little bit more time to adjust. You'll be fine, blah, 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 like whatever. But I ended up picking up this thing. Like, I think it's called, before I say it out loud, let me make sure it's the right thing because it's.
Andrew's like, what were you wearing? And you're like, Andrew, please, I'm spoken for.
Actually, I have a fiance. What were you wearing? Khakis. It's this stuff called Body Glide.
A Body Glide.
Yeah. So I started putting that on every day because screw it. In the honor of being transparent, it's like like your thighs and honestly like the cheeks, like they get a little chafe too. And it's kind of gross, but it's like there's a lot of friction at the cheeks and at the thighs, and like that's where I have to put it every day. Otherwise, it just hurts. So now I'm able to wear tights without exploding. But yeah, again, that kind of goes with like the walker's leg.
Wait, so did your leg adjust? Did you buy a different pair of tights?
So I still have the same pairs of tights, but I think my legs adjusted and the Body Glide has helped a lot. Because I think I had like a jar of Vaseline too that I was thinking of using. I think I might just throw it away because I think at this point it's just extra weight and it's not helpful. But I think the Vaseline would make it not, I don't think it would work very well. I don't know. I think it's like a different material. I don't know. I think I'm just going to stick with the Body Glide because that's what it's made for.
It also sounds really cool. So Body Glide.
Yeah. Better than petroleum jelly. What is this?
It makes you dynamic, get those extra miles in, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And we love good marketing.
Right. I have a question from a listener, actually. Um, what is your bathroom situation like, and how many holes have you dug to use?
Yeah. So again, that is a very real conversation. So, in terms of holes I've had to dig, it's only at 3 right now. I'm not proud of that number, but it's better than
It
I
could
thought
be,
it would have to be. It could be worse. It
yeah.
could be so much worse. So, thankfully, the plumbing that I have as a cisgendered male, I have to padiddle a lot, like, number one, because I drink so much water during the day, right? So I constantly kind of have to pull over into the bushes or the trees or whatever and go. But thankfully for the other bodily function, there's a lot of like, Dollar Generals, gas stations, like it's fine. I've been lucky enough that I've only had to, I don't know, bear it up a few times, and those aren't fun. But yeah, no, there's plenty of bathrooms along the route, so it kind of just is what it is.
When you get back in August, what are your plans going to be after that? And are you going to miss walking? Are you going to feel like you just got to keep on moving? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. I don't know. I feel like post-walk depression is definitely something I've heard about from people. Because, you go from walking every day from fight or flight, all this attention and media, and people want to talk to you and this and that. And then you kind of just go back to being a normal dude. And that's something that I was very worried about because I knew that that is something that I would 100% fall into. So the way that I kind of designed the purpose of the walk really coincides with the purpose and mission for my business. So I guess for the walk, my mission is to highlight, learn from, and work with people in the US that are making a difference in their communities. And in terms of the coaching business, that one is we help social impact driven entrepreneurs excel in their personal lives without compromising on their business's success. Another mouthful. But it's still very centered around the people that in the US that are putting in the work that are making a difference. I don't know. One of my big beliefs and mantras is that entrepreneurs make magic. Where there was a problem, they find a solution. Where there is a need, they have the supply. So that's a big part of the walk. So I say all that to say that when I get back from the walk, it's still to kind of continue the mission of the walk, right? Like I still plan on doing the podcast. I still plan on highlighting folks, taking what I've learned and kind of divvying it out to other people. I think it's going to go a lot more from me highlighting folks to me more so working with folks, empowering folks, and helping out entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders. I mean, when I get back, Julie and I, we plan to move in together, finally get our own place. I'll probably for sure have to get, if any, for sure, like a part-time job. I think it'd be fun to work in like some little coffee shop or something. I don't know. But really just start really putting in the work on the coaching business. Since I've kind of had to put it on standby for 6, 7, 8 months, I would want to jump into that full time and really, I don't know, dive in and make it a thing.
Right. How can people follow you and support you the best from afar?
Yeah. So still the best ways are going to be, I would just go to the website withinrangecoaching.com/walk-across-America. That has all the links to everything. I mean, if you just go to the withinrangecoaching.com website, you'll be able to find the link that says Rangers Walk Across America. In there, It has all my social medias, Facebook, Within Range Life Coaching, Instagram, Within Range _coaching, TikTok, Within Range _coaching. I guess that's really it. Just really follow along. I'm a lot more active on Facebook and Instagram stories than anything. And on Facebook, I do my daily update. Instagram, I need to start figuring out what I want to post there to build it up to. But yeah, go to the website, social media, and obviously this podcast is where I'm going to be posting interviews with other people and updates and this and that. So yeah, just a lot of a lot of social media.
Cool. And remind us again the three nonprofits you're going to donate to at the end.
Yeah, so I'm grateful to work with an organization called the Wander Project, who is collecting all the funds. And at the end of the walk, once I get to the Pacific Ocean, they're going to divvy out all the money that we raise to Future Farmers of America, Bigger Than the Trail, and the Hospice Promise Foundation. So it's going to go to FFA for vocational education for their project grants, so that students all across the U.S. can apply for these grants to do their entrepreneurship, placement, livestock projects. Bigger Than the Trail is a group of trail runners and racers, so anything down from a mile, 5K, 10K, all the way up to ultramarathons. They raise money so that they can provide free therapy to folks that need it. And then the Hospice Promise Foundation helps families going through hospice treatment with non-medical hospice bills. So rent, utilities, groceries, transportation. In the podcast I did with Rachel Arnold, she even said that they do final wishes, help people decorate for holidays. So what they're really great for is putting in extra work so that families that are at end of life treatment for a loved one can really focus on that relationship rather than worrying about if they have enough to eat that night. So really the three nonprofits, the vocational education for youth, mental health treatment for adults, and end of life treatment, it's very much beginning, middle, and end, which again coincides with my business's mission to help people live a life worth remembering.
Well, that's really awesome. And I know a lot of your friends in California are rooting for you and are really excited for you and are supporting you any way we can. If you have Ranger's phone number and you want to give him a call, I've been calling him the last couple of days and it's fun talking to him. I got to hear him interact with a local supporter, and what I forgot, I think he gave you a coffee or something. I can't remember or water. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And yeah, is there anything else that you want to let people know about?
No, I'm sure that we'll do more episodes like this. I'd like to do more often like this with you. So just kind of stay tuned and we'll, I don't know, talk more. And I'm sure people will have more questions and we'll get into different things as time goes on.
Sure. Well, this was a lot of fun. It was good seeing you. It was good catching up with you. I hope I did this justice. And I hope the listeners enjoyed this conversation as well.
I'm sure they will. I appreciate you hopping on for a little bit. I know you got a bunch going on too. So thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Of course, anytime.
And thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. I'm so excited that I got to hang out with Steven for a little bit. Again, I mean, we've been friends for, I don't know, damn near 10 years now. So we've got a lot of background, a lot of history, and I'm glad that he is still here supporting and helping out with the, I don't know, crazy adventures that I get myself into. But yeah, as always, you can go ahead and check the show notes. I have all my social media down below. If you'd like to support our sponsor, Cold Blooded Caffeine Company, please go ahead and get some coffee from them. They have coffee, tea, and they support a great cause, the Rainforest Alliance, as well as the United States Association of Reptile Keepers. Go ahead and support them. By supporting them, you support the podcast, you support me as I make my journey across the country. If you'd like to support me directly, please consider buying me a coffee. All the funds that I get from buying me a coffee go straight towards the walk, whether it's food, equipment, gear, coffee, really just the necessities is what I use that for as I make my way across the United States. And please follow me on social media. Facebook is where I post the majority of my updates, my requests for places to stay, and more. I'm not sure when I'm going to be posting this, but I should be through Mississippi here pretty soon. So if you're in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, that's where I'm going to need the most support moving forward. So if you're in any of those states, the hot states as I've been calling them, please consider reaching out and helping a brother out. But again, as always, please feel free to rate, subscribe to, and review the podcast. The more reviews that we get, the better the podcast does, the more it gets pushed in front of people. And again, the more ways that we can help more people. So as always, Remember, have fun, stay safe, and be yourself. I'll catch you guys all next time. Thanks.